We're here in Casco Viejo, the old part of old city of Panama City. We're staying in an Airbnb in the old downtown area, which is all being kind of revitalized and everything. But this is our Airbnb, bedrooms up there. It's really nice. Pretty tile floors. And then it's about 9 o'clock at night. And there's music going on, and there's restaurants all down through here. These old balconies, really pretty. So we're gonna go out and see what we can find to eat, because we've been flying all day, bouncing from airport to airport, so we're tired. Here we go, Panama. Yeah. Hey guys, so we're here in Panama. I'm in Casco Viejo, and you can tell that there's a lot of old architecture here. And this is the old part of the city that they're now starting to revitalize. I believe this is the Cathedral Metropoliano, and it was built, I think, in the late 1600s, at least started then, and then it's just evolved over the years. But it's one of the oldest buildings down here in Panama City, but you can kind of see behind me all the cool architecture of the old city here. And like I said, there'll be a brand new building and then a really old one that hasn't been revitalized yet. And so it's pretty cool just to wander all through here, and it sits right along the Pacific Ocean, which is only a couple blocks that way. The Pacific Ocean. Panama is a narrow isthmus, or a sliver of land, and on one side is the Caribbean and the Pacific on the other. So. But you can see right there just kind of like an old building that hasn't really been revitalized yet. So anyway, I'll be showing you some sights here as we get into Panama and see all kinds of things. We're gonna spend 2 days here in the old city and seeing some things along the Panama Canal in Panama City. Then we're jumping across the country to Boquete up in the mountains, and we'll do some cool hikes. And then we're coming back here and going out to the Caribbean side and going out to the San Blas Islands, which is out in kind of a native area, meaning native tribes and stuff live out there. And up until the 1990s, their economy was in coconuts. Their means of trade and barter and buying and selling. So primarily in coconuts, kind of interesting. So should be an interesting week, and we'll make a bunch of field trips here for Panama. So you can see Panama City out there, which is a pretty big city. That's the downtown area. And the ocean sits right on the ocean. There's a lady cleaning the bistro here. And then you swing over and it's surrounded by forest, lush forest, rainforest. And then this is Casco Viejo. And you can see it's pretty old. Got a lot of old parts to it. And then it has a lot of revitalized parts to it. And then on all the corners through Casco Viejo, there's all these military police that just kind of keep it safe because this is a really touristy area. Panama is generally safe anyway, but they keep it especially controlled. Yeah.
What's inside your sandwich?
So we just ate at this little cafe here, and we're just gonna keep walking around the city. Lots of little places under construction. These guys are doing cement work over here. You can see that. And again, this is Casco Viejo, the old part of the city. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, this is it. You can see that old church. Under construction. See how old the stone is there. The statues. These old, I'm assuming it's Catholic churches from Spanish rule. You can see how old this stone is and how weathered it is. More statues. These huge doors, look how big these doors are. And this pretty tile work. So you can't record inside, so I don't think you can record, but we're gonna go inside. So I didn't record inside there because I didn't know if I was able to. Sorry if I'm real close. But it was beautiful in there. And the ceiling, you can actually see the sunlight coming through it because it was all the old original wood from several hundred years ago. And there's all these, it looked like tombstones built into the wall that were from the early 1800s. And then just a beautiful old cathedral. And I guess there's multiple of these, like 6 or 7 of them throughout Casco Viejo. So just really old stuff. And this is the museum part of it, adjacent to it. So you can come in and see old things. Here's an old well. It scared me. There's some sunglasses. It's beautiful. So they have all these old bells in here that were used in the different churches around here. They're super old. Really pretty. But they get pretty weathered from the coastal air. can press pause and read that. And then here's this church that we're in the museum right now. So we went inside, but I didn't film because I didn't know if we were supposed to, and I want to be respectful of them. But it's beautiful in there. There's this old ceiling that you see the sunlight through. It's original wood and these original wood beams. It looks like gravestones in the walls from the early 1800s, and just a beautiful cathedral in there. Old architecture, several hundred years old. So pretty cool, but I didn't film inside because I didn't know if I should. There's a museum attached to it as well that we walked through. It was really pretty with old artifacts. Keep wandering. So this is an old ruin that they've kind of turned into a bit of a tourist piece so that you can see what these buildings were like once they strip them down and try and rebuild them back up. But I believe this had significant historical meaning to it. There's a sign over there, and we'll go check it out. The Old Archway. Just look at all that stone and that brick inside the pieces. There's a piece that fell. Hopefully that doesn't happen while we're in here. These arches. All that stone, I mean, you can tell at some point there's brick in there, and then there's patched in stone, more brick. Probably hundreds of years of adding on and patching in and rebuilding this and rebuilding that. So 22, we are Arco Chapter 22. Anyway, so these are all the different things we're trying to look at. I'm not showing you all of them, but it's kind of something you just gotta come and see, but I'm trying to give you a taste for it. So we came back to this Metropoliano Cathedral, and in the afternoon, and the doors were open and they let us walk around. It was really beautiful inside. Just big and ornate, huge columns and pillars, but just a massive church inside. All of this old Spanish and Catholic architecture from the last few hundred years. It's beautiful down here in Casco, Viejo. It's a papaya cart.
Baby. Check the menu and what?
Oh, just see that bird dive in? Pelican must have just grabbed some fish. I was just gonna do a panoramic view here. The Panamanian flag there. Birds everywhere. We're headed over to the fish markets over here. There's a bunch of eateries in there, fresh fish, and we're gonna try that out. It's breezy down here, nice and cool. So all these fishing boats are pulled up here next to the fish market. Some of them are pretty old and simplistic. And they just bring their catch to the fish market, and then they have a bunch of eateries in there, and you can buy fresh seafood coming out of the ocean. There's garbage down along the rocks here. It's blown in. You can see, hopefully you can hear me, but these fishing boats are really old, some of them. I mean, it would be kind of spooky taking them out to fish with, but when that's all you've got, that's what you use. We can just see how old some of them are, and then some of them will have these, I mean, they're branches from trees used to hold buoys or sails or whatever they need. Got arroz con coco y ceviche camarón y papaya. And this is the fish market. Right next to Casco, Viejo. I'll show you the food in a minute. Very good. What kind is yours?
Melon.
So here on in the square next to that old church is the Panama Canal Museum, and we're going through it. Well, we went through it, sorry. And it's really cool. I'll show you a few clips right after this from it, but I started filming a whole bunch, but I think it's just gonna be boring too. Some of the interesting things about the Panama Canals is the early 1900s, we signed a treaty that was really controversial as they were emerging from Colombian rule and into independence, and the people were upset by it. Basically, we got a 10-mile wide strip of their country and total control over it. And then we pulled a bunch of people in from the West Indies and other places, and they were almost like slaves. They weren't, but they were segregated, many of them, and mistreated. And the canal was dug, and then for up until 1999, when we gave the canal zone back to them, it had a very controversial history here in Panama. And I didn't realize it was so controversial for so long, but I think in some ways the canal has brought blessings of wealth now to the Panama, but also it has a long history of problems that we brought when we took over their country basically and built the canal. So kind of a messy history, but it's a beautiful place to visit now, so we'll see. And here's the museum from the outside. It's really pretty. These old buildings. You can see in there or not. This is what the inside of those. Sorry, I'm probably giving you a headache. Oh, here's one. This is better. Yeah. This is what the insides of these look like. That have not been rebuilt. Kind of interesting. Oops, sorry. See these. Got those. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're gonna go eat at Loke Ai.
Burn in my lips.
Panamanian fritter and ceviche.
Bro, this is probably just supposed to be the
Tuna carpaccio. Corn fritters. Crazy just how this compared to that, you know, just one side or the other.